Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in, welcome in. As you can see, producer Kev is alongside for a live edition of Crimson Blue Chips. We are in the Charlotte, North Carolina area, maybe a little further out.
A little further out.
But we're in that area, wrapping up our holiday time with families. Our families are cross-pollinated despite our complexion. So we're wrapping that up before we hit the road and continue on with our coverage. So, of course, we wanted to come to you together in person for the very first time to break down really everything that has broken the last couple of days, whether it's on the Alabama football front, whether it's on the suspension front, the injury front. There have been updates to updates as the Orange Bowl creeps a little bit closer between Alabama and Oklahoma. So obviously, 48 hours away or so, really from this moment, kickoff will be going down in this fine city and that fine city right there. So, let's jump into it. We're live so we can interact with you guys, take some questions, of course, as we try to break down just the latest news. And there's been a lot to sort through. Producer Kev, where should we kick off tonight?
Well, we'll go ahead and start with the three guys that were suspended. Nick Saban came out today and said that they were going to be suspended for the remainder of the season, and then it was an NCAA violation that's causing the suspension.
Should probably name the guy.
Deontay Brown, starting left guard, is the main one. Who are the other two?
Elliott Baker and Kedrick James. Couple of backups. Which makes it even more interesting that it was an NCAA violation. Maybe these three are tight, but not all the same position group, not all the same year at Alabama or anything like that.
So it does make it. It makes it interesting. It makes me kind of wonder what exactly was going on that they got hit with an NCAA violation. So they will be gone the remainder of the season, and Saban said that it could be extended further than that. So if and when we expect them to win the Orange Bowl, those three won't be available for the national championship game. And really, the Deontay Brown is the one that is really hurts the Tide. Obviously, Lester Cotton is no slouch. He'll be starting at left guard in place of Deontay Brown, but the run game just hasn't looked the same without old Cornbread in there. So it'll be interesting to see how that run game looks. Obviously, the Oklahoma defense is hot dumpster fire.
I was going to say, what's a good remedy for maybe lack of personnel? The literal last-ranked pass defense and I wrote it the other day, 120th overall ranked defense in America.
It's really low, so it's a good thing.
Kansas Jayhawks were better on defense this year.
Rock Chalk Jayhawk, Les Miles, let's go.
Taking over a monster.
Let's go. Those guys, with the NCAA being involved, it could be a number of things. I'm not going to speculate on exactly what it is because there's way too many things that it could be.
If Nick is already hinting at potentially beyond this year, so forget the college football playoff. Going into 2019, he's unsure as of right now. I mean, that's obviously a pretty big deal. So we'll all just wait and see. It'll come out at some point. I'm sure there's a ton of speculation already. I haven't really been online. But as far as this podcast and for what we're talking about, it is what it is. So Deontay Brown out, Lester Cotton in. But that's about as good as it can get in terms of a backup. A guy who is a fifth-year guy, 3-year starter, a ton of reps, a chip on his shoulder, all of those things. And he knows this is a storyline going in, that he's, the weak link in the offensive line. The offensive line that didn't win the Joe Moore Award for the best offensive line. The other one did. Oklahoma did.
Which is
Zone Block City. Hey, you can still win the award.
You can zone block. You can win an award. So it was I guess as I kept watching, and I've watched more and more of the Oklahoma offensive line, I am really impressed at how good they are at what they do, but they're not asked to do a lot.
That's the thing. I mean, it's 2 or 3 things total.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kudos to Lincoln Riley and the staff for making it easier, but it's you wonder if what the requirements are for that award. But either way, Alabama's is not the best according to that group, and now it is lessened even more with the loss of Deontay Brown, particularly in the run game. I think Lester Cotton is very capable as a backup and certainly as a pass protector, but obviously Cornbread is going to be a pretty good run blocker more times than not. So big loss there for Bama. We'll see how they react. But again, perfect remedy, the Oklahoma defense, which actually isn't terrible against the run. I think they're in the 50s somewhere. But think about that. That's where we're shining a light on Oklahoma, that they're in the 50s in a category. We're like, oh, okay, it's not terrible.
Yeah.
Not terrible. It's like 70 spots better than the pass defense. So that's what Bama's facing, even though everyone's talking about Kyler Murray and the Alabama defense. I'm looking at that other matchup regardless of the Alabama quarterback situation. Segue there, Kev. Nick Saban, Jalen Hurts, Tua Tagovailoa, head trainer Jeff Allen. Everybody got on the mic in the last 24 hours to give some updates. Quick summary. Jalen and Nick still don't want to talk about this potential transfer. Tua said he's 80 to 85% coming off of ankle surgery. Jeff Allen doesn't believe Tua. That's it. That's the summary. He thinks he's a little closer to 100. So take that for what it's worth. Tua's underselling is the severity.
Why are you going to undersell your injury, though?
Because it makes you look better.
Oh, it makes you be like, oh, he went from 85.
He was only 80%. He was only 80 for 500 yards.
Okay. I got you. But, I mean, still, either way, it's –
Look, Tua's been practicing. I think everyone expects him to start. I certainly do.
Yeah.
I've been asked a bunch already. I think Tua starts. I think Jalen plays in some capacity. Maybe it's mop-up duty. Maybe it's garbage time. Maybe there's a specific package. But I think the best part of all of the quarterback questions is that Mike Locksley's still there. Dan Enos is still there. So it's a whole lot of
Locksley.
Yeah, kudos to Locksley for doing that. We've seen a lot of Nick assistants do that over the years. Kirby back in the day. Pruitt just last year did it, staying on despite having another gig to get to. But that core of Nick, Locksley, Enos, and these two quarterbacks, I think is quite nice for Alabama going through this college football playoff, because it's clear they're going to have to score points on Saturday.
They have to score a lot of points.
But it is also clear that they're more than capable of doing so. Injury-wise, that's in terms of the guys that have played the bulk of the year. That's the news. There is news with some other guys though.
Yeah, I mean, we had. At the press conference today, I thought it was kind of funny, and I'll just bring it up real quick, that Quinnen Williams was asked about playing against Kyler Murray.
Oh, we're already getting to that?
Oh.
Yes. No, go
That's
ahead.
not where you were going?
No,
okay.
I was going with the Terrell Lewis news.
Oh, well, I'll
get on the D-line.
We'll go D-line back to back. So,
there you go.
Quinnen Williams was asked if he had ever played a quarterback to the caliber of Kyler Murray, and obviously he said no. And you could tell he was getting ready to say that I don't think Kyler Murray's as good or is what everybody thinks he is. And then you could see the Nick Saban.
It's like a wall.
Yeah, you could see the Nick Saban butt chewing immediately stop him, and he clears his throat and says, "I'm good," when asked if he wanted to finish his statement. So I thought that was pretty funny today, just coming out of the media stuff today. But yeah, no, Terrell Lewis has announced that he's coming back for his senior year. I think it's a smart move on his behalf, considering he was hurt throughout the year this year. Obviously, we've seen the progress that he's made. He's already back on the field and practicing and all of that. But I don't know how much he's going to be used in these playoffs, and
probably not at all.
I mean, like I said,
definitely not Saturday.
Yeah, no. And so it'll be good for him to be fully healthy, go through spring, and then come back. And it's a position of need next year. So losing those two, Christian Miller and Anthony Jennings, he could step into one of those roles and contribute, and probably start at that jack linebacker position.
Yeah, so big news for Bama 2019. Not unsurprising. I mean, dude's played like 15 games in his collegiate career. But hey, when you when you flash at Bama, you can get drafted. And I would have no doubt that Terrell Lewis would still get drafted somewhere should he have declared. So it is still newsworthy, but not the most earth-shattering news for the future. So is that all of the news items? Is Kyler Murray still sick?
Did
he talk?
He was at practice. He said he was feeling better.
Feeling better enough to talk.
Feeling better enough to go to
even though he
media.
Practiced yesterday. Yeah.
He didn't go to media day yesterday, but he did go to practice. So in his place, Oklahoma sent their punter.
Convenient way to get some IVs, I think.
So, who knows?
Oh,
but he did say
Baker did that last year.
He did say he was feeling better, so
good
for whatever that's worth.
Yeah, look, the quarterback health situation going into this game is a kind of a tired storyline. So let's get off of that. The positive injury news for Oklahoma is that Hollywood Brown has been practicing. I know our immediate reaction following conference championship weekend and when the college football playoff pairings were announced, I know our initial reaction was, man, this Hollywood Brown injury in the Big 12 title game looks like a huge deal. But he's been out there. He's been practicing. I don't know if he's 100%. I don't know if he's put a number on it or if the head athletic trainer for Oklahoma has debunked that number. But he has been out there, and onlookers say that it's going pretty good in terms of how he looks. And obviously he's got 2 more days to get right. This is their most explosive big play receiver. So I think that's where the matchups get a little bit more interesting. I think Alabama's secondary has been excellent this year. I think Alabama's secondary has outperformed expectations, even without Trevon Diggs, arguably the best cover guy in that secondary. But this will be quite the test. They've got other guys. They've got Calcaterra at tight end, who's 7 foot tall, might as well be. You got Hollywood Brown on the outside, CeeDee Lamb on the other side. So you've got to defend all, 52.5 yards wide?
Yeah.
You got to defend all of it against Oklahoma, and obviously Kyler Murray. So I think the secondary and the edge players get a little bit more onus for this game, and I think it's actually a big game for the linebackers. We talked a lot about these guys. Mac Wilson. One of these guys is going to play spy depending on the defense. There could be some safety responsibility there against Kyler depending on the situation. But the onus initially, until it's proven that they can't hang, if it's proven, is going to fall on Mac. It's going to fall on Dylan to spy this guy. So I think a huge game is going to be necessary from these guys to corral the Heisman Trophy winner and protect the theoretical lead the Heisman Trophy runner-up may have at a given point. So I think that back 7 in this game, I think, comes into very clear focus. Oklahoma can run the ball. We know that. Trey Sermon and those guys, yes, they can run it. But we all know in the games where Oklahoma's been down or close, it's in Kyler Murray's hands all day long. And that's where everything begins. So I think that back 7 is going to have their work cut out for them, but not in just running with these receivers, but in helping contain Kyler Murray. When you watch him, it's not fitting the balls into tight windows is not something he's had to do as much as certain quarterbacks because everybody's eyes are on him.
Yeah,
you're in zone coverage. You're freaking out about keeping him in the pocket. And either A, he breaks the pocket and hurts you with his legs and his ridiculous speed, or B, those guys are allotted towards the quarterback, and there's just extra windows, it feels like. This guy has a major league arm, literally. I'm not saying he doesn't.
Yeah.
But in terms of the accuracy and the consistency within that, I don't think he has had to be as good. He's been great, Heisman great, but he hasn't had to be as good as consistently as some other guys. I don't think he's faced a ton of man coverage. I don't think he's faced – we all know he hasn't faced the type of secondaries that he'll face on Saturday night. So I just think the back 7 combines for quite the matchup against Kyler Murray. The front 4 will do their job. I think they'll help stop the run, help contain to a point, but it's really on those back 7 guys to communicate and corral what is he, number one? Number one. Kyler Murray.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you got – and to their defense, they have 3 players that can go over 1,000 yards this season. if they have big games. Both running backs, one running back's over 1,000, one's approaching 1,000, and then Murray's at like 892 or something like that. So they can run the ball, but it's like we said before, it's very simple inside zone read, some trap type inside run stuff. So that's where we're going to look for the defensive line and that front seven of Alabama to step up, make plays, and contain the run game. Like you said, spy is going to be big because obviously you don't want Murray getting out of the pocket. And I mean, I think he's probably a legit 4.4 guy.
That run against Texas in the regular season.
He definitely runs 4.4.
That 70-yarder.
Yeah.
I mean, that's about as fast as we've seen anybody move here. So, do we got somebody else hanging out with us?
Yeah, CJ joined in.
What's going on,
how you doing, CJ?
What's up, y'all doing all right?
Doing good, man. Hope you had a good Christmas.
I like that Miami Heat hat, bro.
So what?
I said I like that Miami Heat hat. I'm actually a Heat fan.
I appreciate it, man.
Heat Nation, baby. Let's go.
Nation.
All day. We're trash. Tank for Zion.
Let's go.
So
what do you want to talk about, CJ? What's on your mind right now?
We were just breaking down the matchups that we're looking forward to in the Orange Bowl. Which one are you looking forward to the most?
I'm curious. I actually that was my first thought, was what you guys were talking about, is how Alabama's going to be able to contain Kyler Murray, especially with the speed that he has. I mean, you look at the guys that Alabama has had trouble with in the past. You look at Nick Marshall, Cam Newton, and those are guys that got out of the pocket and were able to escape defenders and able to get even quick yardage, 6 and 7 yards at a time. And that gives Alabama fits, especially with a hurry-up offense. It's not giving the defense the adequate time to, get some air, just be able to rest up and actually read the next play and stuff. And so with Kyler Murray and, Marquise Brown announcing that he's going to be able to play this game, I want to say that he said that if he's breathing, he's playing. So for that,
Florida boy, Florida. Just saying, South Florida represent.
Yeah. And so with him saying that, I think that gives a good indication with him having, 1,318 yards this year. I mean, he's going to be a big threat for Alabama, and I think this will be a good challenge for our secondary in terms of, are we going to be able to turn our heads around and see the ball, or is Kyler Murray going to be able to run against Alabama's defense? So.
Well, we know Bama's got Tosh Lupoy at DC, and I think that's going to lead to some aggression. I think you counter with pressure. I don't think the teams who have sat back on Oklahoma have been torched, and the team that was most aggressive was Army.
Yeah,
and the Army came after Oklahoma. Let's not forget that Army took them to overtime. Probably should have won the game.
Yeah,
in Norman. Army, and we know they had a great team and great defenders.
They just scored 70 in their bowl game.
They came after Kyler Murray, and that thing was eyebrow raising from the jump. So I think you model that, and obviously we know Bama has better athletes than the Army, at least on the football field. No disrespect. So I think with Tosh Lupoy and that much time, I think you go after Kyler Murray and make him make those tight window throws against man coverage. Maybe they don't face a lot of man coverage because teams are unwilling to do that against Hollywood, against CeeDee Lamb, against Calcaterra, which I don't know who's going to cover him.
Good luck.
But, Bama has the athletes to potentially do it. Thompson on Calcaterra, Surtain, Savion Smith on the outside against those guys. Shaheem Carter, who's been great this year. Use those guys in man coverage. You're going to get beat over the top a couple times. That's just par for the course. But if you can get to Kyler, if you can hit Kyler, pressure him, fluster him, I think you really got a chance, because you can't just let him sit back there and play zone and let him figure it out, because he's a smart cat. He's been around. He's been in multiple offense-heavy spread programs. Dude didn't lose a game in high school. You can't just let him outthink you. I think you got to put the pressure on him, make him get the football out a little bit sooner than he wants to. I think that's the way to do it. You're going to give up points and yardage in chunks when he's right, but I do think over a 4-quarter game against a defense as bad as Oklahoma's, where you would theoretically be able to get into the 20s, into the 30s without too much resistance, I think that's the way to keep Oklahoma off the scoreboard as much as you, which is literally how you win a football game.
Yep.
Yeah. So
you score more points than the other team.
John Madden would be proud.
Yeah.
And you're looking at Alabama playing different football this year. You're looking at a defense, that typically, don't get me wrong, I think they're only allowing 14.3 points per game, which, correct me if I'm wrong, is third or fourth in the entire nation. That's fantastic. But you're looking in terms of, in the past, you're looking at Alabama's defense is only allowing 9 and 10 points per game. Yeah, you're looking at a 4-point swing there. Okay, fantastic. But this year, we've seen an offense that we have not seen from Alabama, and I don't think ever, averaging 40-plus points a game. And so you guys remember how Oregon and other teams would score, 50 and 60 a game on, Pac-12 defenses and stuff. I think as long as you score, 50 and above, or even 40, maybe 45 above, I think you actually win this game. I'm not going to say with ease by any means, but you gain a little bit of spread there to have some comfort, maybe hit some cruise control after a little while.
I'm with it. I think that's a very feasible path.
They're going to have to score
to the title game. And that's the thing, man. It almost makes you wonder what Bama's going to do with the football.
Yeah.
You always expect Bama to play their game, but man, do you bleed the clock a little more with Murray on the other side? Because Oklahoma's had some nice comebacks this year against good defenses, Texas and Army in particular. Even the first Texas game that Texas won, Texas was up, 21 or something like that, and Oklahoma stormed back, beginning with that run that we talked about.
Yeah.
So I don't remember off the top of my head. Army obviously bled the clock because that's how they play football. But with Texas, I wonder if they sat on it a little bit and obviously regretted that late. What does Bama do in that position? Because Oklahoma's been there before, and Bama's been there, but not against an offense like this where that guy can will his team towards a comeback. And he's got NFL guys. I'm not underselling the rest of that Oklahoma unit, but it just makes you wonder if and when Bama has a lead, because I think that's the general perception going into it.
Right.
What does Bama do then? Is that on Nick? Is that on Loxley? What about Enos? Who's the guy that says we need to keep doing what we do and stay aggressive? Because this Alabama team is not a sit on the ball and run it team.
There's no chewing clock on this offense.
Right. This ball is getting it to Judy and Ruggs and Smith and Waddle and everybody else. So both Smiths, I guess.
Predicated on big plays.
Right. So I just wonder. I wonder how that conversation has been in the last couple of weeks versus what happens Saturday night in the 305.
Yeah, it'll be interesting.
CJ, you got an X factor? Sorry, Kev.
No, go ahead.
You're totally fine, guys. I was talking about you're talking about bleeding the clock and stuff like that. For previous years, you've seen guys like AJ McCarron, Blake Sims, Jake Coker get in the game, Greg McElroy get in the game when Alabama has a lead, and we put in the second string, or not we, sorry, Alabama put in the second and third string, and as you said, bleeds the clock. Now, even if you put Jalen Hurts in, that's a legitimate threat. That's a legitimate threat to score, especially with guys like Terrell Shavers and Derek Heath on the second string and third string side of the ball. I really don't see Oklahoma being able to stop as many weapons as Alabama truly has, regardless if it's just a first string or second string, guys that we put on the field. Alabama, Nick Saban's notorious for saying that the best guys or the best players are going to reach the field no matter how young they are, no matter how old they are. And frankly, you look at a guy like Jalen Waddle, who's been fantastic as a true freshman. I mean, you look at a guy like Derek Keefe, who's, I want to say, like a fifth-year senior, who's been around for what seems like as long as Hunter Renfrow. And I want to say he's actually had a couple of sports this year. So, I mean, you can't discount guys like that to be able to score against a team like Oklahoma whatsoever.
Hunter Renfrow.
Hunter Renfrow still playing?
Yes.
Man.
He's been there.
He's about to catch a touchdown Saturday.
He's going to score the game winner.
$5.
Score the game winner.
Rub route?
Rub route.
Yep.
Scored a touchdown. Touchdown Clemson. Yeah, it's going to be it'll be interesting to see who's the big X factor. I think my X factor is going to be Najee Harris. I think Najee's due for a big game, and this is the type of game that I think that he could dominate with his run style, and I think it's going to be big for them to get the running game going early with DeAndre Brown not being in. So look for Najee Harris to have a big game.
I think Bama can do whatever they want running the football.
Yeah.
Honestly, Josh Jacobs has been in the news a lot because he's from Tulsa, he's from Oklahoma. The Sooners, let's be honest, they slow played him. They didn't trust their evaluation on Josh, and Bama went all in. Burton Burns was at this man's basketball game, and he was like, "Yep, this is the guy I want in this class of what would that have been, 16, or 15?" So he obviously rolled with the tide and never looked back. But being a Tulsa kid, that there's a different level. I know other players have corresponded as much as well. So you wonder if there's, Nick's getting old. He's getting a little soft. He wants to fulfill some of these storylines, right? I think he's going to get Josh involved in, screen game, swing route, a little wildcat, a little wild Josh, with some D linemen in front of him.
It's been very effective so far this year.
We can bring up, Mike Ashley's teased that orbit motion to us a bunch. Maybe you do it with multiple backs. I think Josh Jacobs is going to have some type of impact. Maybe not as many touches as folks are expecting, but I think he will do what he always does and maximize all of those touches.
Josh Jacobs with Quinnen Williams lead blocking.
Yeah, imagine that.
Scary.
Imagine defending that.
We haven't seen that out of Alabama this year. We haven't seen that jumbo package in the goal line where they used to put like Deron Payne and Josh Allen in the backfield.
Killing folks.
We've seen it in Clemson.
I remember the SEC title game against Florida a couple of years ago, and Payne was lead blocking for Scarborough. And
was that Tebow Cries?
No, this was a couple of years ago. And
that's not fair either.
I just remember I went back and looked at it later just for fun because I'm a nerd. So I was just watching my tape that I had because I shot it low angle from the sideline, from the end zone. And Deron Payne just moved a guy out of my screen. It was ridiculous. And Alabama has those type of horses on the D line if they want to use them. It's just, how do you defend this Alabama team? How do you do it in a normal 6-7 day scenario? How do you do it with a month for these guys to get healthy? You mentioned Najee Harris. Najee's been kind of banged up.
Yeah.
He had a weird ankle landing on it, funny issue.
The LSU.
It hasn't quite looked right since, right by his standards since. So now he has a month to heal up. These receivers have all been banged up. Judy limped off, Smitty, Ruggs, they've all limped off in the last 2-3 games. They're back. Obviously Tua, which everybody has talked about. So how do you defend those guys when as close to healthy as they've been probably since the preseason?
Yeah.
How do you defend that? I'm not quite sure. So it just seems like going into it that Ruffin McNeil will have his cards all over the place because I wouldn't know where to begin. Typically, when you play Alabama, you want to stop the run and go from there. That's plan B from the jump for Alabama. So how do you defend that? You'd have to play elite man coverage and try to contain those guys. But how can you imagine your third or fourth best corner on Jalen Waddle or Devontae Smith or your rover safety on Irv Smith? That's not even getting into backside of the backfield. It's an embarrassment of riches for Alabama, and now a healthy Alabama.
Yeah.
A veteran offensive
That's been
line.
the big thing is the
length
of time to get healthy.
Yeah,
and and to be honest, when we're talking about defensive backs and stuff, I can't name a Oklahoma defensive back except for Buki, and the only reason I know Buki is because
they play a lot of young guys.
Yeah, he was so out there in his recruiting process on social media, and that's the reason I know him. But Buki's the only one I can name you.
Yeah, Buki Radley-Hiles, great player. They've got Stephen Parker, who a camera crew today misidentified as Kyler Murray. I think it was good old ESPN. They're like, oh,
the ESPN.
They're like 5'10" light-skinned cat. He must be Kyler Murray. No, that's a DB.
That's a DB, son.
Yeah, so.
All right. Good job, ESPN.
Yeah,
ESPN never ceases to amaze me with their stupidity.
He's a good player. They have some individual good players, blue chip guys individually, but as a unit, they just have never come together. Just think of if you take nothing from a preview or the hypothesis of this game, just think of this. Texas, who didn't have one 50-yard play this year, absolutely torched them twice.
True.
On neutral sites, by the way, not at home, because they don't play at home.
Yeah.
On neutral fields, Texas has torched them twice. How many Texas starting 11 guys would be in the two deep at Alabama, much less starting? None of them would start, I don't think. How many would crack the two deep?
You're right.
Maybe
none of the running backs, none of the receivers.
Maybe Lil John.
Lil John, I mean, because he's like the one type of receiver Bama doesn't have. He's that 6'4" jump ball guy.
Yeah.
Maybe he's on the two deep, and that's it.
Yeah.
Is Ellinger above Jalen Hurts? Backing up too?
Is Ellinger even their best quarterback? I mean, I know he. I don't know.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
that's my point, though. My point is that Texas torched them.
Yeah, I know.
Twice with those guys.
So think about what Bama's getting ready to do.
Right. And Texas contained Oklahoma for various portions of each of those games.
Yeah.
With their guys. And then you can flip it on defense. How many of those Texas guys would start at Alabama? The number's probably more than 0. I think some of those young guys would play. But it's not close to 10 or 11. So you're talking maybe 1 or 2 starters out of the top 22 comparing Alabama to Texas. Yet Texas beat Oklahoma and nearly beat them again. Yeah. So just if you take nothing else, don't overthink it. Just simplify it and say, this is what we've seen twice, and this is what Alabama has.
Yeah.
On grass, outside, by the way, which benefits Alabama in my opinion.
Absolutely.
So a lot of these things tilt things towards Alabama's favor. So I think if Kyler Murray was the best player in college football, he's going to have to earn that thing on Saturday. When we all look back and said, damn, Deshaun Watson should have won the Heisman a couple years ago, it's because of what he did against Alabama. It's because of how he finished the season. Yeah. If Kyler Murray is the best player,
he's going to have to be the
unequivocally best player on Saturday night. And that's a tall task for anybody, even a guy that's talented enough to be a first-round pick potentially in 2 sports.
He's gonna have to strap those bad boys on. He's gonna have to pretty much carry Oklahoma to the finish line if he wants to be the best player on the field and live up to the Heisman, because we all know how Heisman winners have fared playing in bowl games. They don't fare well. Reggie Bush, going back to those guys. I mean, there's never been the last Heisman. Jason White won the Heisman and then got absolutely torched in the national championship game.
Baker Mayfield lost his last game. It wasn't his fault.
Yeah,
but he did lose.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
You guys remember when Reuben Foster absolutely wrecked Deshaun Watson? He went spinning, flying.
I was there, yeah.
I love Reuben.
It's like a helicopter, but the kid got right back up.
And the kid got back up and absolutely went ham. And
yeah,
we were just talking about Deshaun Watson. I just like the guy a lot.
How about those Georgia quarterbacks getting out of the state year in, year out?
It's because Mark Richt is awful. Look what just happened tonight. Mark Richt is the worst coach on the face of this planet.
Like, I think sometimes if you're a nice guy,
you can't be a nice guy.
Will give you the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah,
he's a good.
He's not the benefit of the doubt.
That's the first thing people say about Mark. Oh man, Mark Richt. Well, he's such a nice guy.
He's a great guy.
Like, this is football.
Like, great guy doesn't equivalent to winning games.
Yeah, I mean,
it's Nick Saban and say, "Man, what a nice guy."
Nobody says. Miss Terry don't say that.
No,
exactly.
She stays with him for the money.
Just think about
don't do that. Don't do that on this side. Don't do that on this side.
Don't calm down, Alabama fans. Calm down. But yeah, no, I mean,
we're gonna trigger some people over here.
It's just one of those things. Like, Mark Richt is just awful at. Okay, Mark Richt wanted Cam Newton to be a tight end.
Yep.
He wanted Lamar Jackson to be a corner,
and he
did not recruit Deshaun Watson.
Oh, he said Bryce Ramsey, who ended up being Georgia's punter, was a better prospect
than
Deshaun Watson. That's what happened.
Mark Richt, you're awful.
Which means at that point they had no shot at the best quarterback to ever come out of Georgia, Trevor Lawrence.
Yes.
They were never in it.
No.
There was just no trust there. There was no trust.
Yeah, he got lucky. He got lucky. Well, no, he didn't.
And all those quarterbacks we mentioned are from Georgia and the Atlanta area, really. So
yeah, so I mean,
there's no excuse.
That's top-notch football right there.
Could you imagine a Birmingham legend or 5 not going to Alabama? Could you imagine?
Look at and this speaks to Alabama's recruiting. Look at the cats that they've pulled out of Auburn.
Yeah.
Right.
So I mean, that's what you're basically saying. Like those guys that they pulled out of Auburn, like Rick couldn't get them to come to Georgia.
Right.
Like
at the position that he's supposed to be closest to.
Yeah, because he was a quarterback.
He's a quarterback's coach. He's the OC.
But he's never had a good go look at his quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Awful.
Stafford and
you had DJ Shockley.
Aaron Murray.
Yeah, and then from
DJ Shockley.
He didn't like
my man Cox from
Joe
Cox. Joe Cox was only good because he was thrown to Muhammad Massaquoi.
And we didn't even mention Jake Fromm.
Yeah,
Jake Fromm didn't get the Georgia push until Kirby got the job. Rick was not in favor.
Look what he's got at freaking Miami now. Cozy Perry.
He does have an Atlanta quarterback who almost transferred. But he
almost transferred. Are we really going
to have one
almost transferred?
Who Georgia didn't want.
Yeah, but he has now he should be pulling all these South Florida kids that are going to other schools.
Oh, well, that's a whole different story.
Yeah. So, I mean,
if you're going to recruit South Florida, you got to be a little more grimy than Mark Richt, I would assume.
Look at the coaches that used to go into South Florida and pull cats, and then you'll see. Like,
I have a topic that I want to bring up when we can, guys.
Go ahead, CJ.
I was reading something that Ed Ogeron was talking about, and he was wanting to lock down the state of Louisiana as far as recruiting goes, and essentially build a wall around those
Don't
guys.
say that.
Build a wall. And
Coach O's wall.
So that Alabama or any other teams don't steal these recruits. And I was taking a look at some of these listings and stuff, and all but want to say 2 or 3 guys like top notch Ed Ogeron has landed since he's been at LSU, like for this upcoming recruiting class. And so do you guys think that, that'll continue? Do you think that has any, the emphasis or effect on like Ishmael Saucer and any other recruits from the Baton Rouge, Louisiana place?
The LSU pitch has sounded a lot like the Miami pitch, actually. Everybody, every Miami target from South Florida, they always pitch, make the crib great.
Yep.
For those who are a little older, it's, stay at home, be great at home. That's a great pitch, but it's not enough. That can't be the entirety of the pitch. Hey, you're from here, stay here. Right. So I think it's a great notion. But the difference between LSU and Miami is that LSU has actually won some of these battles. And this cycle in particular, and look, LSU's got as dramatic a list of losses, even just on the Bama roster, as anybody's, even Baton Rouge guys. Okay, we all know, Dylan Moses, Isaiah Buggs is from Louisiana, Chris Allen's from Baton Rouge. They just signed another Baton Rougean, if that's a thing. But they've made strides. They flipped the Georgia commit, to spin this back to Rick. They flipped the Georgia commit in John Emery, number 1 running back in the country, in my opinion. Yep. Sorry, Ray. They have kept the number 1 corner in the country in state, Derek Stingley. So the only big fish left there is Sopsher. So I think the difference is that they're actually showing that they can get there. Though there will never be a pure wall around New Orleans. There's too much talent. There's too many schools with resources nearby, mainly Alabama, the Texas schools. A&M is going to be a fit for Coach O just as much as Bama has been, just coming from the other direction.
Jimbo. Jimbo.
Yeah, Jimbo's a monster on the trail. But LSU's actually showing strides. Which Miami guy does Miami have committed that Alabama and some others have wanted at this point? Who from that area? They lost out on Dent. They've lost out on a bevy of guys. Tyreek Stevenson's still available, probably going to Georgia.
Right. They're
not keeping guys home and starting to say, okay, now we can see it a little bit with those true blue chip, true national recruits that everybody wants. They haven't shown that just yet. Chris Bogle would be a start, but even I don't know if that's the guy to do it. You need to land that 5-star South Floridian. In this cycle, it's probably Akeem Dent. And South Florida is actually not even as ridiculous as it always is on the trail this year. So you don't even have to be as good.
Yeah.
But they still don't have those guys. Braylon Ingram is committed and signed to Alabama. Jordan Battle never sniffed Miami.
Which,
He's
I mean,
going
you're
out.
St. Thomas used to be a pipeline to Miami, and now you've lost.
You're missing
both guys.
And let's be honest, those are tier 2 guys.
Yeah.
These aren't top 20 players in America. So you're not even getting the second tier beyond that. So the difference is that LSU is and Miami is not. LSU has a couple of banner recruits from within state lines, and they're going to be in a dogfight with Alabama for Sopsher. But, you know, to roundabout way answer your question, I think a lot of the public speaking engagements that O is going to do is going to center around Sopsher. That's the beauty of the early signing period. You've only got a handful of targets out there remaining, and 2 of them happen to go to the same school for LSU with Sopsher and Devontae Lee. So I would expect O to keep doing that. He's like the coolest Cajun ever. So he needs to just play that all the way up. It's never going to be perfect, but you can't have elites from the state consistently leaving.
Right.
And that's been the problem to this point. Maybe this is the year that it goes the other way. But Christian Harris has signed to Bama, and Sopsher's still out there. So it won't be perfect, but he's at least making progress. I can't say the same for Mark Richt down at the U. You can't lose to Wisconsin 2 years in a row.
No. And you lost to Wisconsin in your own.
You can't get blown out by Wisconsin 2 years in a row. I don't care who you are.
Yeah. I mean,
the Golden Gophers can't get blown out by Wisconsin 2 years in a row. Like, it's just not acceptable.
If you're in South Florida, and if you're that head coach of South Florida, at Miami, not South Florida, because South Florida is really in Tampa. But if you are that head coach at Miami, you have to keep those guys home. Look at all those great teams of the past in Miami. They kept the kids home. The Ezra Jameses, the Sean Taylors, they kept all those kids at home, and they were amazing. So those are the things that would need to go on for Miami.
It's very simple at Miami.
All right, so
until Mark Richt actually turns around some things and actually pulls some guys in, even just starting with some South Florida cats. I mean, it's just not a good look. If you can't even keep guys that are doing your own backyard to commit to a school and believe in you and actually give you a chance, what makes you think that a person like a kid like Najee Harris who was from Antioch, California, what makes you think a guy like him would come all the way to Miami for that? Okay. There's got to be some kind of thing that you show, kind of like Nick Saban does, like Urban Meyer has, like Ed Ogeron does, like anybody elite recruiter does, that can show you something, give you an actual reason to come to this school. And Mark Richt just has yet to do that. He just has not done that yet at Miami.
Yeah, it's been weird to watch him at Miami. I didn't think that was a good fit from the start. So
you can't just bring someone home and be like, oh,
he's a Miami guy. Yeah. Well, he wasn't. No, you can't do that.
Yeah.
It doesn't work.
It's like the contrast to Bama is the top player in the state has left 2 years in a row in the state, not in the area,
right?
In the state, and people have lost their mind.
Yeah.
People have lost their minds, and these aren't Birmingham kids. These aren't Tuscaloosa kids leaving 2 years in a row.
They're state kids.
They're the best kids in the state of Alabama, and that had never happened before. And people are losing their minds, even though Bama's going to have the number 1 class. Just think about that contrast where the best kids in the Tri-County area aren't even going to Miami, and Miami's not even a finalist for a lot of them. I know we've been talking about South Florida a lot, but there is some overlap with Alabama. That's wild. I mean, all the in-state schools are doing that.
I think there's a 2 hour.
Yeah. So moving forward,
did y'all just hear that thunder over here? I know that was kind of random, but literally, like,
where are you at, CJ?
I'm in Birmingham. We live in Birmingham. I'm pretty sure just like 2 transporters just blew outside.
Well, you still have internet, so congrats.
Yeah, I know. So I'm still rolling with this. I'm using my phone for the Hangout. I'm actually guys, I'm gonna get off here. I hate to leave you guys. I'm gonna get off here and try and get some candles lit and stuff like that and get some things rolling before the power goes out.
Man. Stay safe.
All right, be safe,
Appreciate it, guys. Take care.
Yeah, take care. The beauty of live events. God bless you, CJ. Hopefully, this is not your final appearance.
Hopefully, we hear from you tomorrow. But yeah, so we're talking about recruiting and keeping guys home and all that. Kind of brings us back to this class that Miami has built and could continue to build. Is there any guy from inside of the state that might not be big right now, but maybe has started trending a little bit that the Alabama might be looking for to fill these holes since they missed on some of these other kids. I know you've been in the state a lot recently, and maybe there's somebody that's kind of trending that way.
It's got to be DJ James.
Yeah.
He's the guy who, you got to – well, they didn't get to, but we got to see him on the same field as Quinnen Williams, the verbal commitment who didn't sign. And, man, there's an argument to be made for either guy. Nick Saban was in Mobile just before the early signing period, and he met with James, not Christian. I think that was an alarming development to follow. And since then, DJ did not sign with Mississippi State, where he's been committed for more than 10 months. And now he's added offers from Oregon, Nebraska, Iowa the other day. Everybody's trying to get this kid on campus now because they're seeing some of the stuff that we've been seeing. He was maybe the best corner at the Alabama-Mississippi All-Star game, and he definitely was the one who had the most success against George Pickens. And in this state, well, not this state, but in that state,
that's right.
This year, those are the guys that we're looking at. It's like last year, the guys who could cover Justin Ross caught our attention. In years prior, Nico Collins and TJ Simmons and these guys, Henry Ruggs a few years ago. The guys who can contend with them are the ones that are going to hold our attention, and DJ did the best job of covering George Pickens despite a 5-inch difference in height and about 30 pounds of weight given up to George. He was still there. He is fluid. He is fast. He is long. He's got family members that I've met that are 6'3 plus, so he might still be growing. He was short when we met him. He's been a star for a long time at Spanish Fort High School down in Mobile, and we kind of that was drilled into our mind. It's kind of a beauty and curse of this profession. You meet a kid and that's what you think of in terms of his height and his weight, and then all of a sudden 2 years later the kid's 6 foot 175, and you're like, this is a different dude.
Yeah.
So I think DJ James is that guy. When you're not in it anymore for Pola Gates, you didn't sign Quinnen Williams, Marcus Banks, A&M versus Bama, we don't know. That's where I think the in-state love can go. I think that's where Bama can really push and get an official visit out of DJ and maybe flip him from Mississippi State. He's the in-state riser on the Alabama level. There's a couple of other in-state guys who are rising in general. Both were committed to FBS schools in-state and have since decommitted and blown up a little bit. Michael Lockhart is a basketball player turned football player out of Huffman High School. He's added like 7 Power 5 offers since he decommitted from UAB about a week ago. And then on the other side of the ball, O-lineman Adarius Tolliver from Watauga Academy near Montgomery. He decommitted from Troy and has since fielded a lot of interest from Power 5 schools, Miami, TCU, Baylor, all over the country. Everybody has changed their perception of guys and how they attack the process with this early signing period. So those guys who didn't sign, if they show progress, they got a chance to really blow up. And we're seeing those 3 guys in the state of Alabama very much doing that. And if Alabama's going to get in on any of them, I think DJ James is clearly that guy because it's already kind of happened. So he's the one to keep an eye on, DJ James in the defensive backfield with what's left out there for Alabama.
All right. And then any other topics you want to hit before I start scrolling through this live chat for some questions?
Yeah, no, let's get into it. I mean, we're going down to Under Armour tomorrow, and there'll be a lot more. There's like 12 Bama guys on the list. They're not all playing, but we'll see a Boygby, Amari Kite. We'll see Evan Neal. We'll see a bunch of Alabama guys. I'm really excited to see Brandon Turnage in person. Haven't seen him in forever. He's a guy who reminds me of Deontay Thompson. I did the scouting report thoroughly a couple weeks ago for 24/7 Sports. That's the comp for me on tape. Now, I want to watch him in person and see if I'm still kind of in that camp. He is a very important signee for Alabama in this cycle, particularly after losing Dax Hill to Michigan. I think Brandon Turnage becomes a big-time name in this cycle. And I think he could have a career like Deontay where first year or so, doesn't see the field a ton, and you're not thinking about him, and then boom, explosion. all conference NFL type projections for the kid. I think he's that good and that fluid. That was a battle that people do not realize. Pulling a kid from Oxford, hard to do. Easier to pull a kid from Auburn than Oxford, for those curious. So really looking forward to Under Armour week. Always a good week of competition. You know my camera will be rolling, so stay online for updates. Going to see a lot of these guys compete, and I think some Bama commits have a chance for a 5th star. Boygby, Kite, in particular, those two, I want to see them go against each other actually, because they're kind of a yin and yang. Those guys, I think, are top 100 guys that could shoot way up with a good week, because they're two guys who don't compete a lot in camps.
Yeah.
They didn't go out and do all the the razzle dazzle pageantry tour to camps. So I think with the pads on against one another, those guys could soar up, and I really just want to see Amari Kite stand next to Evan Neal. Let's see who's taller and meaner looking.
That's a massive tackle.
Should get a picture with those two. That'll just look stupid.
That'd be amazing.
That'll question my credibility immediately.
Because those dudes are ginormous.
6'7", 6'8".
I don't know if you've seen the picture with Evan Neal sitting on the hood of the car, but he's bigger than the car.
That car looks like a mouse. Like it looks like this.
Like
mouse.
he's not driving that car. Like he doesn't even fit in that car. Like let's be real. All right.
Those tire pressure, man. It's cold
gotta
out.
be awful.
No, terrible.
Gotta be awful. All right, so we're gonna scroll down through the live chat and see who's gotten in, who's gotten questions. DJ wanted to know how our Christmas was. We got a good Christmas. I had a good Christmas.
My boy Kev got me the Miami Sharks shirt. Represent Willie Beeman in the building.
Let's go. If they would
best football movie ever.
If they would have had your size in the jersey, then I would have got the jersey. But they didn't have your size. So.
Yeah, Kev not wearing my gift to him because y'all will get mad at it.
Yeah, it's not tough.
Just leave that alone. All right, my bad. Keep moving. There's Confederate flags around here. Keep it moving.
Not in this place, but
yeah.
How big is Lewis coming back? Pretty big.
That's big. You're gonna lose those guys.
Yeah. So I think that's a good one. Do we have any new recruits commitment? Any new recruits committed?
No, it's a dead
You're not gonna see or hear anything for a little bit at least.
Yeah, Bama will start ramping up the visits in January, just like everybody else, and they'll try to close with some of the guys we've talked about: Sobsher, DJ James. There's plenty of big targets available, and Bama's still working to sign some of its verbal commitments who didn't. It's not just Quinnen Williams. Byron Young is probably the one people are going to focus on the most. Keelan Robinson, he's supposed to be at Under Armour.
Yep.
Curious to see where he sits, why he did not sign. So it's about adding prospects, but I think Bama's looking to maintain as well. But Sopshers, the Henry ToTos of the world, the Akeem Dents of the world are out there for sure. But I don't expect any verbal commitments from those guys until next year.
Not until.
It's only like next week, but you get it.
Yeah, you get it. All right, so this one makes me laugh because DJ asked it. And it only makes me laugh because we were watching this game the other night. Have you heard about the Buffalo quarterback transferring? And if so, where will he land? All right, so I have a very small amount of tape I can say about this, but I couldn't help notice that I didn't like that kid very much.
He's very tall.
6'7". He's 6'7". Me and John were watching that game, and I was like, he's got to be at least 6'5" because the camera angle and the offensive line, he's got to be at least 6'5". Well, he's 6'7", and he weighs 245. And people kept saying he had a strong arm, and I just kept seeing this weird, awkward release, and I couldn't get past it. So.
Yeah, I mean that shows you where it is right now with quarterbacks. I mean,
he was the MAC Offensive Player of the Year.
That's the luxury Bama has is really unprecedented right now in the country. Nobody has that type of thing. Georgia had it until Fields left.
Yeah.
But the desperation and the need at the collegiate level is just like the NFL. Look at people trading up to get, Josh Allen and Josh Rosen and these guys who, when you look at them, you're like, that's the guy. And
then end up starting Nate Peterman.
Right. So it's the same at the collegiate level. So Tyree Jackson from Buffalo is going to be a grad transfer, and he's going to have great options. I promise.
Yeah, he'll have really good options. He's a big cat. He throws the ball.
Right. And I saw him as a top 10 quarterback in this draft, even though it's a terrible quarterback draft that got worse with Justin Herbert electing to stay at Oregon. But there's going to be a market for Tyree Jackson, just like there is for just about any other grad transfer quarterback. But everyone's going to see what's up with Fields, see what's up with Hurts, and go from there. So I don't expect the destination. Yeah, maybe DeAndre Francois at FSU. I don't expect a lot of movement with those guys in terms of finalizing that anytime soon. But the ball will be in those quarterbacks' court, and that's the empowerment that people want. You graduate, you do what you got to do, just like Tyree did, just like Jalen has, and you get the chance to choose your next destiny, if you will. So we'll see how it plays out. And those guys have put their names in the transfer portal, not Jalen Hurts. Sorry. They just put their name in the portal, so they could leave or they could stay.
So is this an actual online thing, or is this just a thing we're calling it?
No, it's an online database that's super secretive with an algorithm that only college coaches can see, but it lets them know, hey,
this guy
holla at me.
What's up?
It's kind of a social media thing.
It's like an Ashley Madison type thing for
yeah, it's like hey, I'm the Buffalo quarterback, but I'm available.
Yeah.
So the confirmation was boom.
Right.
Tyree Jackson's in the transfer portal. Justin Fields going in the transfer portal.
Okay.
Some expect Jalen Hurts to go in the transfer portal, and it's just a way, of letting these college coaches know, hey, these guys are available. You have to be in the portal before you get contacted now.
Okay.
So that's kind of just the new technology-based wrinkle for transfers, and it's going to be the norm. The transfer portal is going to be the term we start hearing more than RPO, for goodness sake.
God, I'm tired of hearing RPO. Especially when not 9 times, maybe like 6 times out of 10, it's
not an RPO.
Not an RPO, just a freaking play action. Is Brown better than Waddle? So we're going Is Marquise Brown better than Jalen Waddle?
At what?
Oh, DJ asked it.
Look, I mean, they're different guys. Hollywood Brown is your explosive downfield, big play, waiting to happen guy down the field. I think Waddle is different because of his ability, around the line of scrimmage, bubble screen, space game. I don't think if you're doing a bubble screen or something short and shallow, I'll take Jalen Waddle. But if you're talking about route sophistication, getting down the field, breaking down a defensive back and showing some ball skill, Hollywood Brown probably a little bit more consistent, but he's older. He's been around a lot more. I mean, Jalen's a freshman. So there's still some incomplete there, I think, with the Jalen Waddle thing. 2 really good players, explosive players. But I think short, you go Waddle, long, you go Brown. But it's a little more deep, a little deeper than that.
Yeah.
But they're both really good players. I would take – it just depends on the team. If we're talking about as a 4th or 5th receiver, give me Waddle because I know he's always going to be lined up inside. But if you're constructing a team, you would probably select Hollywood Brown first for right now. For this year, for this game.
But now talk to me in 3 years when Waddle's had that experience, and we'll probably – be saying a different story.
Right.
But for right now, yeah, the experience that Brown has gotten over the last 2 years has made him a better receiver.
Right. We've seen Marquise Brown win 50-50 balls. We've seen him catch over the shoulder. We've seen him contested at the end zone with footwork, all of those things that really Jalen hasn't had the opportunity to show at the same level.
Yeah.
We know he's got insane athleticism and good enough ball skills to secure the catch, but he hasn't had those reps where we're like, man, this is a sophisticated pass catcher. Just not yet. It's coming. Just not yet. So.
Yeah. All right. So if you switch both quarterbacks before the year, who has a better year, Tua or Murray? So if you put
but now Kyler's not playing in the second half of all these games. So again, how are you defining a great year? Is it the numbers? Because I think Kyler still runs for many more yards than Tua.
Oh yeah.
Because I think Kyler's a little less greedy than Tua, even though he turns it over a little bit more. But if you flip the teams, then Tua's in for 4 quarters and Kyler's coming out at the half. So Tua probably has the better passing numbers, but Kyler's more efficient, which was the exact opposite. These are 2 special guys, very similar in stature, arm strength, a couple of different areas, both athletic. But I think the team dictated a lot of the circumstances around their success this year. Kyler had to do those things. Tua didn't even have to do the work that he did to some degree. Yeah. So I think it'd be the exact opposite if you flip it.
Yeah. Brought up the Nick Saban Jr. brings up a good point. West Virginia scored 50 plus on Oklahoma.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Oklahoma's winning games, giving up 40, 50 points at several points this year. West Virginia, Texas twice. Army in overtime. I mean, look, what's the least they've given up? 30?
Probably.
Yeah, I mean, this is not a good defense. So Kyler had to get to some of those gaudy numbers. A lot of times in Heisman campaigns, it's a lot of fluff. It wasn't a lot of fluff with Kyler. I mean, they were in all of these games. And maybe that's an advantage for Saturday.
Yeah.
But they didn't blow out many teams.
They
pulled away late, sure, but it was not a clear route from the jump with how porous that Oklahoma defense has been. And I think that masks some of the numbers. So, the rushing defense was actually not terrible. Well, who was running against Oklahoma down 14 points? Who was doing that? So, and in the Big 12, where nobody runs anyway.
Yeah.
So again, that's their banner statistic. Well, it's a little skewed as well. So it just depends on how you look at it. But that defense is rough to put it lightly.
Yeah. Is Bama still talking to Dent and or Cross?
Dent, yes. The FSU commit. Nick Cross is also an FSU commit from DC. Hadn't heard as much buzz about him. I think Alabama's more in the corner market. And I think Nick Cross is a pure safety.
Yeah.
There was a lot of interest early on, but FSU had a lot of guys not signed. Akeem Dent, Nick Cross, Brendan Gant, the one-time Alabama commitment, Travis J.
Yeah.
All in-state DBs except for Cross, and they all didn't sign. It was kind of bizarre, but recruiting in the state of Florida with those teams transitioning, Rick, Taggart, Mullen even was very bizarre this year, and I think there's probably some twists and turns remaining with some of those guys. But if I'm a Bama fan, Akeem Dent is the one that I'm paying a little bit more attention to. Tyreek Stevenson would have been there as well, but it's basically Georgia, Miami for him, and that'd be a rough one for Miami to lose. But if it were today, I would expect them to lose that battle.
Yeah. How fast is Brown? I mean, he's really fast.
Fast enough.
Yeah. So, that's going to about wrap it up for us tonight, guys. If you want to slide a last-second question in there, feel free.
Get it in.
But as always, we thank you guys for coming and stopping by. This has been something long time in the making since – we've never been in the same spot.
Wait till we have technology.
I know. This is actually kind of cool because this is kind of like what we feel like we want to be able to do more in the future, and we're working towards that. So, excuse me. Anyway, thank you guys for stopping by again. As always, we love and we appreciate y'all. All right, hold on. DJ always throws one in here at the last question. Who are y'all's MVP picks for the game? John, go ahead. I'll let you go first.
Ooh.
MVP.
If Bama wins, they got to contain Kyler, and one of those linebackers will have to be at the forefront of it. I'll take Dylan Moses. He's my pick to be the first spy, and if Bama wins, he's going to have to do a good job at some point, I would think. So give me Dylan Moses. Going defense.
Defense. Defense for the win. All right. Well, I'll go defense as well, because I feel like the defense is going to have to play the game. And I feel like Quinnen Williams, it's probably a cliche pick at this point, but I've liked Quinnen Williams ever since the first time I met him at Winona High School and at the Joe Webb camp.
He was like 250.
And he was like, yeah, he looked like a middle linebacker. But now he's grown into the best defensive lineman in the country. And that'll be my pick. Again, guys, we appreciate you stopping by, as always.
How about score prediction?
Score prediction?
Here you go.
42-35.
Who wins?
Bama.
Okay. I mean, you're not a Bama fan. So
yeah,
I expect all the people in the comments over here
Yeah.
to say Bama, but not you necessarily.
Bama wins.
I'm in that ballpark too. It's just I don't know, man. I know Kyler can do it.
Have they released a spread?
I can't imagine another team getting a 30 like that with a month to prepare. With Nick Saban having a month to prepare for anybody, I can't imagine 30-plus in a game that matters. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm naive. Maybe I've been drinking the Kool-Aid, but I'm in the 47-27 range. I think they get off some plays, but I think they are aggressive after this kid, and it causes some havoc. I think they get their plays, but I just don't see them getting into the 30s. Maybe I'm way wrong on this, but the more I look at it, the more I simplify it. And I'm just like, look at what Texas did, and look who Texas – it's stuck in – the Texas and Army are stuck in my brain, and Alabama dominates those rosters without blinking.
Well,
and they're healthy, and they've had a month.
Do you want the spread
What's
and
the
the over-under before you pick?
If the spread is under 20, I may take it.
The spread's –
theoretically.
The spread's 14.
I would take that spread.
The spread is 14 and the over-under is 77.
I'm in the 47-27 range. I don't know what that adds up to. That's like 74.
74.
So I would take Bama in the under. Boom.
There you go. There you go. Do you want to do the Cotton Bowl?
Yeah, let's do the
Cotton
Bowl.
Might as well. Notre Dame.
You've been riding Notre Dame, man. T-Law is not losing to Notre Dame.
I know I've been riding. Let's see, my original pick for the beginning of the year was Clemson, and then I've been riding Notre Dame for the rest of the year. So
give me Clemson.
I got to take it.
Give me Clemson, double digits.
No one else is going to do it, so I'll take Notre Dame.
ETN, big game. T. Higgins, big game. Justin Ross, the dagger. And Clemson's defense rallies around the loss of Dexter Lawrence. It's not like they don't have guys, so let's not act like, oh, man, he's out, and they're in trouble.
Yeah.
Hey, Dexter Williams is a good running back for Notre Dame. I like him. He's a Floridian. What up? But that Clemson front group is still as good as anybody's in America. And there's still a little part of me that doesn't buy the Ian Book passing game of Notre Dame. Bigger receivers, but can they get separation against Southerners, against athletes, against potential NFL guys? That Clemson back seven is not great, but they do have athletes. Can they consistently get separation against those guys? Jump balls are great. 50-50 balls are great, but can they do it over 4 quarters? Clemson, 31, Notre Dame, 20. Boom. T-Law to the natty, which is really all I want.
35-21 Notre Dame.
Ooh. Is Trevor Lawrence getting hurt? Is ETN getting hurt? What are we doing?
No, it's
Jerry Tillery gonna get through that line and
straight up.
Wow.
I don't know why.
That secondary is not the best, but those Notre Dame receivers are collectively good, but there's none of them are Hollywood Brown.
No,
none of them are the Bama group. Bigger, longer guys.
And I know everybody wants to see part 4, but I'm done with it.
I want to see part 4.
I do too.
Clemson Bama part 4, all marbles, all the way in freaking California. Why not?
Why not?
Let this be the last one, and let this be the one where Nick goes up to Dabble after maybe losing to him and says, "Hey man, I want you to be next."
Oh my God!
Come follow me. Come on home.
On that note, we're done.
Pass the torch.
We're done. So yeah, once again, guys, this is our first one together. We've been working on it.
What is this Notre Dame love? What is this?
I don't know.
Who have they beaten that has been good? Syracuse? And I went there.
Michigan, Syracuse,
Michigan
Stanford.
Week 1. Okay.
Number 7, Stanford.
Stanford was good. A good win.
Syracuse.
Stanford, Texas A&M neutral site. Who you got?
Texas A&M.
All right. It's like Clemson's 3rd, 4th best win.
Are we going?
I'm just saying.
Have we resorted to comparing teams? Have we resorted to comparing teams?
This Notre Dame love fest,
It's not a love fest. No, it's not.
It's a love fest.
No, it's not.
This ain't Brady Quinn, Jeff Samardzija, all right?
Samardzija
with the hair.
Beast.
He's still pitching.
Pitching in the league. He made the
what
right
a great decision.
He made the right choice.
Go play baseball.
Go play baseball.
And after Saturday, he might say, you know what, baseball for sure, but
100%.
Go play baseball. Because Samardzija was a nice receiver. He would have had a 7-8 year career in the league.
But he's been pitching.
He's not even great, and he's been pitching for 12 years.
He's still getting paid, bro.
Yeah. Probably made more money than Brady Quinn.
Probably.
How about that?
Not Brady Quinn. R.I.P.
Anyway.
But yeah.
Wrap it up.
we've been trying. But yeah, so this is the first time we've been in the same spot since I came on board, and as you all know, me and him have been together for. We've been doing some sort of sports thing for. It's going on 12 years that we've been.
We old, bro.
Yeah, I know. So
accept it.
But yeah, so we appreciate you guys. Again, if you haven't already, subscribe to the YouTube channel, hit the bell notification so you get notified whenever we go online.
Because we never plan it.
Because we really don't ever plan it, and I think if we planned it, y'all probably come more. But we sorry. So
okay, how about it? Saturday night, after these games are done, after Clemson destroys Notre Dame, we can come on here and talk. Or after the Bama game too, I guess. That was important. We'll come out here and hang out. Saturday night, late night, whether you're pissed or happy, come hang out, vent, or celebrate, and plan that trip to Cali to see Bama Clemson perform.
Well, you won't see my beautiful face. I'll be on audio only because I'll be at work. So, but anyway, come hang out. Well, I guess there you go. Come hang out Saturday night after the games. Come hang out.
Yes.
If you haven't already, subscribe, hit bell so you know because we don't plan. But and then follow us on the socials at CABC Pod on Instagram and Twitter, Crimson and Blue Chips on Facebook, and then crimsonandbluechips.com, where we've put up probably about 220 stories so far. So go check that out.
This guy's writing. Just read it. He's writing. Look at him. Look at this scribe.
What was that supposed to be like? I look uneducated?
No, you look like Wright Thompson. Like you're a writer.
Oh.
You're a writer now. So,
hey,
congratulations.
Let me go sip my Jameson and write
candlelight.
novels.
Look, there's a candle right here. Oh, God.
Come on, bro.
You got the candle?
Why you gotta mess with my ambiance?
I'm just saying, like, this man's got the writer profile. 3 computers on this desk right now. Just saying.
Hey, either way. So, appreciate you guys coming in. For John, I'm producer Kev. Hope you have a good night, and we'll see you Saturday after the games. Bama,
Oklahoma.
There we go. Bama, I had a brain fart. Bama, Oklahoma, Clemson, Notre Dame. You got me thinking about it all. All right, so
Bama, Clemson, preview.
Thank you, guys.